So you are a Kiwi though, and you've moved to California. So for folks who are not familiar with you and the fact that in a little bit of your background, maybe you can just give us some background about yourself and why you're where you are now.
Well, my name is Scott Cleary, and my band is called And That. And yes, you're right. I'm originally from New Zealand, Whangarei, and then Auckland. And I think 8 years ago this month, I moved to LA to marry my now wife. And so that's basically what brought me here. Before that, I was doing a lot of music in New Zealand. We met on a trip when I was over here with a Kiwi band called Kingston. And yeah, the rest is history, really. And, and that's kind of the project I've been working on in the last few years, just my first kind of go at a solo thing. So I've been enjoying it.
Good. Before we get to the music, I'm just kind of curious as to what kind of culture shock you endured moving from New Zealand to the US and LA, especially with all the weird stuff that's going on over there. As you can tell, I'm American myself. I've done the reverse of you. So,
well, a lot of people would probably pick the way you've done it in terms of the last few years, at least, depending on where you sit on everything. But it's kind of comes in waves. I think the culture shock, you get comfy here and then you miss home and you go back for a bit and you realize how different everything is. I think that LA especially, and especially the east side where we are, is a little bit more like New Zealand in terms of being relaxed and being open-minded and things like that. So I think, I remember when we first came over as a band, a lot of my bandmates were very attracted to like New York, and I just always had something for California in me, whether it was the beach or the sun or whatever it was. I just felt that connection there. And maybe that is something similar to a New Zealand summer or something like that,
Yeah. I found it the thing that, despite anybody's social or political observations, the thing that people miss most about their old place is the food.
Oh yeah, well, I can't agree with that. Sorry, I mean, I definitely miss my mum's cooking and stuff like that. But I mean, the food in LA is pretty unreal. That's what I miss the most when I go to New Zealand.
Yeah. Okay. Hard to find a good pie though in LA, isn't it?
Oh, very hard. Yes, there's a few Aussies trying to do it, but
good luck with that.
Okay.
All right, we go from pies to the music.
Absolutely.
So the album, it's called I Am the Mirror. It came out, was it like last week or so, right?
Yeah, the 14th. So
14th.
Yeah.
What did you do on the day to celebrate?
Well, and unlike what you'd usually do, throw a big party and get the band together and stuff, we just had to keep, a really low-key little get-together over here, like at our house, and mainly just to get a few of the heads together who helped out on the record and have a meal and celebrate in a small way,
right?
Until with our vaccinated friends, and
Well, so, I love it. Whenever I talk to an American, which is quite often these days, they always bring up the vaccination, and nobody in New Zealand is talking about being vaccinated at all.
We were back. Our family was back in New Zealand for the summer, and we had about nearly 5 months just to get away from everything and to introduce my new son to his family and things like that. We were planning to go back before the whole COVID thing. So we just extended our trip. And it was like, normal life. You take it for granted.
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's funny to be back, but it is feeling a lot better. Like my wife and I went out to a restaurant for dinner last night, and we're seeing friends we haven't seen in a year and things like that. So cool. It's going the right way.
Excellent. Yeah, that's good news. So was there a band playing with you on the record? Give me a little lowdown on how you made it in general. Were you in a studio? Were you making it at home, or what?
Well, we took so the producer and I, a really good friend, Zach Farrow, he did the first EP with me. And so when we were gearing up to do something again, he said, like, what do you want to do? And I suggested we went out to Joshua Tree to just get away from the city. Because, just when you're in town, and even if the studio is just down the road, there's so many things that can pull you away. You might be in the studio, but you have to go pick up this thing, or you have to go meet this person at this time. And, once you take all that away, we found that that's what we ended up doing. We went up to Joshua Tree for 4 or 5 days just to get things going. And, the things that happened just because we weren't interrupted were amazing. They like really made the direction clear for the record. And then once we got back to LA, we were able to kind of refine some of those sounds. And it was mainly just myself, Zach, and then we had a few friends chime in on parts. But, he's a great drummer and a really great bass player too. And I did a lot of the guitar stuff. We had friends come in and sing. We had a friend, Juan Solizano from Nashville, one of Zach's friends, who's a really great slide player who played a lot of the slide parts on the record.
Yep.
Which is way out of my wheelhouse. I've never done it. I was hearing it, but I'd never done it. So I said, Zach, do you know anyone? And Juan's just the man, and he sent me I sent him basically like a guitar part, and I was like, could this be a slide part? Could you make it a slide part? And it was just, I cried pretty much once I heard it, because I was like, that's just perfect.
Beautiful.
So that's different to the band that plays with me in town, when we have played around the place. But a few of those, familiar faces from that band feature on the record as well.
Cool. So you said when you were in Joshua Tree, it became clear what the direction was going to be. How would you describe that direction now?
I think it was just the composition of instruments, like where, a lot more acoustic guitar. I think I went out there thinking it was going to be a record that was mainly more fun to play live or something, it was maybe it had a bit more energy to it.
Right.
But whether it was the space or the times that we chose to work on specific songs, maybe that song that was a bit more upbeat became a lot more, soulful and a lot more slow and, all about the lyrics more than the groove or whatever.
Right.
And then also just using the acoustic guitar throughout a lot of the songs as even like a percussive texture. And I think that just and we kind of left a lot of space too, because it was just Zach and myself putting together this. We tracked something like 8 songs in 4 days. It was like, we worked really, really hard. But it also left a lot of space for all the kind of other bits to add,
Yep.
And I think if we all went into, if we had a bigger team and went into a, kitted out studio with a few days, I think it just would have sounded so different. So whether it was the things that we recorded in that time that we left there, or whether it was the space that we left in that time for other things to come in, I think that really directed the record.
Cool. Now I see the album opens up with the title track, I Am the Mirror, and there's a video associated with it. And so I was almost hoping that you were going to be dressed in a silver suit when I saw you here today.
Well,
tell me about making that. It looked like fun.
I am the mirror. I am the mirror. Reflected light. Reflected light. All my bones get mixed up and I don't feel right. Gotta reflect the light. Reflected light.
Yeah, I mean, in a dream would have. The silver suit is sadly no more.
Oh, no, what happened?
Yeah, there was if you really want to hear the story, I had a friend.
I do.
Had a friend borrow so we'd shot the videos when we were back in New Zealand, and I had a friend borrow my car to go and sort out his car. He was going to go get his battery for his car charged or something. He ends up spilling battery acid all over the back of my car where the suit is lying in all its glory. So it just stripped it of all its silver.
Oh man, what a bummer.
Yeah, absolute bummer. It was heartbreaking. So we are
what was the shoot like when you made the video?
Oh, it's good fun. We had we shot it all on Super 8 camera, so we had like a very tight window of time for like either the studio version or the out at Bethel's Beach to hang a video part. And then I kind of just bought all this stuff and just kitted out the studio room and mirror stuff. I put this mirror adhesive on my childhood acoustic guitar.
Right.
And we just went for it. We just had a really good time, and I think when you're working with Super 8, which we did on all the videos, you're kind of very limited to.
Yeah, I remember.
You know,
I'm a
one
bit older
take.
than you, and we used to. We didn't have all these video, cameras and phones back in the '70s, and I was from Rochester, New York, which is kind of the home of Kodak, anyway. So,
Oh wow,
we all shot Super 8 film all through the '70s. It was ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, you'd have to sit there, and you could only shoot so much, and you have to wait for it to get developed and back and see what you got, and then physically chop up the film. How involved were you in all that?
I wasn't chopping up film or anything like that, but I would say fairly involved in terms of ideation and everything like that. I'm pretty used to, like, even from our old Kingston days, and even me now, I'm like very DIY with a lot of stuff. Like, I'm not kind of, I'd much sooner do it myself than hand it off to someone else. So,
right.
I was working with my friend Simon Moore, who comes from a company, Bailey and Moore, and like predominantly photography stuff, but he's got a real love for Super 8, and he has the camera and had a bunch of film lying around. So he figured we'd just have some fun and go for it.
Yes. Now, one thing I noticed from listening to the album as a whole is it has very kind of positive and uplifting feel about it, which is kind of a relief given what a lot of people are going through these days.
Yes.
And I assume that reflects what you're going through in your own personal life. I mean, a song like, let's see, which one was I going to mention here? At Capacity,
Yes.
Kind of, that. So tell me a little bit about where you're coming from as far as that goes.
I look at the sun, then I look at my son, I look at his mom. My heart is at capacity.
I mean, it's probably worth mentioning that the record was written pre-COVID. It's not like I was in a kind of dream world while the rest of the world was, whatever you'd call it.
Yep.
But I think, like a lot of the themes in the record, like, about family and specifically my wife and kids.
Yep.
And so I think, a song like At Capacity was just something that, I'd been sitting on that guitar riff for so long, just waiting for the right thing to come, because I felt like it was such a cool part that I wanted to, like you do, you want to do parts justice.
Yeah.
Whether it goes the other way, whether you have a lyric that you need to find the right sound for or whatever. But this one just kind of clicked when I, like the simplicity of it, I look at the sun, I look at my son, I look at his mom, like I'm fulfilled by these things, like where I am and who I'm with.
Yeah.
So a lot of that.
Yeah. And of course, the tune before that is called Top of the World, where you feel you are on top of the world, which is.
Yeah, that one's a funny one. That one's a little bit more of a, being okay with being alone, I guess, or not, like just having those times alone, whether it's like I remember I used to get a crazy kind of FOMO, the fear of missing out on things, always needing to be around people. And then I guess getting a bit older and, coming to terms with, those kind of things in my identity and being cooler with spending some time by myself and,
right. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going through that. They're realizing they have to rethink about how they're feeling about everything. So
absolutely.
So if you were to start making an album now, which for all I know you may be doing, how would it be different than the one that we're talking about?
Oh, I don't know. That's a great question. I think that
usually means it's a horrible question.
No. It usually means I'm buying myself some time while I figure out what to say.
Okay.
No, I think so the first EP I did was kind of like a collection of songs. Like I kind of wrote them about my wife, because she used to I was like in other bands, and I'd even, a bunch of songwriting sessions.
Right.
Never wrote a song about her, and she'd always just poke fun. And so when I did the EP, I was like, okay, this whole thing's about you.
Yeah.
And then when I went into the record, this one, I was saying to Zach, just like talking about what I could write about, and he was kind of suggesting it would be cool if I didn't only write songs about my wife, like, and so I was like, but what naturally came out is just what comes out, like sure. Sometimes you can't control it, I think if you're trying to keep things simple and honest and all that stuff, that's what happens, unless you're trying to write a pop song to get on a car commercial or something, you're going to have, you got different goals. So
yep.
I think I don't want to say that I'd write about the exact same stuff, but I think that a lot of that stuff, like the love for my friends and family and things like that would just naturally come through,
Yeah. And I see the album kind of ends, well, there's a tune called Sleep Baby Sleep, which is a little bit of a lullaby, obviously. And then it's more of a rocker at the end with Count Your Blessings. And tell me about that.
Yeah.
Count your blessings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What a time to be alive. All the money in the world can't buy. Raise your glasses high.
Well, Count Your Blessings was kind of one that I don't want to sound lazy in that it didn't like fit anywhere else in the record, but it was pointed out to me like a couple of weeks ago that, we have this lullaby song and then the end of Count Your Blessings finishes with like, good night,
Right.
So it's like, it's nearly like kind of rounds itself out in a way, but
a song cycle.
Yeah. Like Count Your Blessings to me is just a really fun song. And I really wanted it to be on the record.
Right.
And it was the funnest song to play live too. It's such a simple song.
Yep.
But I just kind of like, a lot of artists that I like tend to do that sort of thing, just like keeping it really simple, like there's a million different ways to write a song, whether it's complicated or not, but
right.
I really like value some simplicity sometimes,
Cool.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've been coming back and forth between LA and New Zealand a bit. That must be tougher now.
Yeah.
But they are opening up a little bit, quarantine and blah, blah, blah. So what are your plans in the near future? Will we be seeing you soon, do you think?
I really hope so. I mean, like all my family's there.
Right.
We would like to come back as much as possible. I think that's definitely the whole quarantine thing's definitely a thing. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a 2-week hotel quarantine with 2 kids.
I can't say I have. I mean, I have 2 kids, much older now, but I do remember traveling with them.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's an adventure in and of itself. But yeah, I mean, eager to get back whenever I can.
Yeah.
And especially with, putting out I think when I put out the EP, it was just so kind of fleeting and just something that felt like a hobby that had just happened. Right. I didn't put a lot of time into, talking to my friends in the music industry back home in New Zealand. And, whereas this time around, I was able to, connect with those people again and, basically tell New Zealand, hey, I may still be over here, but I'm coming home for a bit and I'm putting out a record. And
right.
So it feels great to be part of the mix again, I guess, back home.
Cool. And do you find being in the music business or being a musician and a songwriter different in LA than in New Zealand? Is the attitude about what you do different?
I think, well, I mean, I have a real job too, like I'm an art director.
Right.
And so I wouldn't say I have had that time here where I've been a full-time band guy, songwriter. Right. I think it's definitely different, like the whole, like just the pool's just so big here, Yeah. It's like you can imagine, or you may know, it's just, half of my friends are songwriters doing a session every day for the last however long I've known them. So it's, it's a pretty crazy situation over here for a songwriter, especially. And then, I think breaking a band is hard anywhere, Definitely. Whether you're in New Zealand or whether you hop from New Zealand to Australia to America, whatever it is. Yeah. It's always going to be hard work. So,
right.
Yeah, well,
my observation coming from the other direction is that my feeling was in the States, when you formed a band or decided you were a musician, there was always this kind of pie in the sky, I can be rich and famous. Whereas when you come to New Zealand, or when you're from New Zealand, I don't think that enters into the equation when you're thinking about that this is what you want to do, because this seems so unrealistic.
Yeah, maybe that's a difference between like just America and New Zealand in general. It's like it's kind of like whether it's the rich and famous thing or, you know, in New Zealand, I find a lot of my friends and family, it's lifestyle driven, you know, you do what you can to enjoy the lifestyle that you want. And maybe that means, you know, working crazy, you know, some crazy job that you don't love to do those other things you love. Or maybe it means like, you know, just playing music because you love music.
There you go. Well, it sounds like you're finding that balance and getting a lifestyle that you want. So that's good. Yep. So hopefully you can come around here sometime soon and play some tunes for us.
I'd love to.
Once the bubble breaks.
Yeah.
It's heading in that direction. So I think it should be happening soon. But yeah, thank you very much for talking to me. And
it's been great. Thanks, Marty.
Enjoyed it immensely. So good luck, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Sounds good.
Hey, bye-bye.
Catch you later.